Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Community Christian Church weekly podcast. I think we can say weekly now.
We've done it 2 weeks.
Two in a row, so here we are. We are weekly, and we're glad you guys are joining with us. And if you haven't done so yet, I want to always remind you guys to make sure you subscribe, and you can get this two different places. You can subscribe on YouTube, which if you're watching, that's where you are probably right now. But if you're listening, you're on Apple Podcasts, and make sure you subscribe there. You'll get it delivered to you every single week. And while I'm on that topic,
Google Play
also, I forgot. You can also get it there. And while I'm on that topic, we've been trying to figure out how are you guys subscribing, watching, listening to this podcast. It will help us if you would tell us how you're consuming this podcast so that we can kind of know where to put our emphasis. So if you would, right now, if you're on YouTube, go down to the description, or also on the podcast app, whatever you're using, go to the description of the podcast, and you'll find a link there this week. And if you click that link, it'll open up a form. It's got one question in it, so it'll take you like 5 seconds maybe to click and just tell us, hey, I'm watching this on YouTube, or I'm listening to the podcast on a podcast app. It'll kind of give us an idea of what you guys are doing, and if anybody's even watching, listening. So
I'd like to make something for people in my age. What he just said is there's going to be a type thing with a line underneath.
Okay.
That's called a link.
all right, tap
that
with your
finger, or if you're on the computer, click that with your mouse. It's going to open up something else we want you to answer the question in that something else that opens.
That would be a great podcast, just to have old people like him translating technological
because
language
I've been
for
in
me.
computers for a long time, longer than either one of y'all have been around probably.
That's
and
true.
So, but a lot of people my age, they're like, I don't understand.
We could call this the OK Boomer podcast.
Okay, Boomer.
OK Boomer. We could call it that.
Not quite. Are you a boomer?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
a boomer. You're a
I'm
boomer.
at the back. I'm at the
Back end.
very end of the boomer.
Okay.
So this will be interesting to you guys, maybe everybody else, but I lead youth ministry around our church, so I regularly am having conversations with teenagers. They say OK Boomer to me. And
No
I
way.
frequently have to
Not
remind
a boomer.
them.
You're a
Not even
millennial.
I'm a
close.
millennial, and I have to remind them, millennials are the one who came up with OK Boomer, not Gen Z, but
Also not
we
a
had
boomer.
whole
I'm not a boomer
Not
either.
Not a boomer.
I'm Gen
not a
X.
boomer. You know what? We like to just keep it, all the different ages represented.
Three
here.
generations.
So what we have is we thought we were the biggest generation. We were for a long time.
For a while.
Then there was these guys where we said, yeah, we don't really care about you. We don't have no kids, so we're going to be a little bitty, not much
tiny.
of y'all. And then they came along. They're way bigger than we are, but we complain about everything they do. But that's what our parents did to us, so
Just keep it going.
we just
Keep
keep
it going. It's
keep
a
that
cycle.
going. We hated it when our parents did it, so we're going to do it to you.
That's right. Okay.
Everyone has to get it. That's just the way it goes. That's the
Did
way
not
it
like
goes.
my dad complaining. I'm going to complain.
I'm trying not to be that guy.
Thank you. Please don't.
I'm trying so hard not to be that guy.
We young people appreciate that.
Yes.
Yes.
Even though I don't get some of your music, I think
You're
it's
not
great.
supposed to.
I'm not supposed to. That's
That's
okay.
right. But it's
What
good
makes
to
you-
listen to it. It
It
is
is.
really good
It
to
is.
listen to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Keeps you younger.
And I'm still listening to grunge.
There
Well,
you
there you go.
That's all right.
That's just my generation.
I can't hardly listen to anything I grew up with anymore because
Really?
it's like,
Yeah.
I go,
get it.
who ever thought I'd be listening to music was 50 years old that I remember when it was made, and I was like, that's really cool. No, it's 50 years old, man.
That's right.
It's 50 years old.
You
When I
gotta
was
change
growing,
the word cool. It's
Yeah.
enjoyable, I assume.
yeah.
All right.
When I was a kid and I was listening to something 50 years old, it was Al Jolson, meh, meh, how I love you, how I love you, which is offensive.
Yeah.
And, oh well, whatever.
And his generation that goes, what?
Who is Al Jolson?
Al
And
Jolson?
We don't
Don't,
wanna- we
don't
wanna
even
talk about
Google
it.
that.
I
Don't
barely-
Google Al
Don't-
Jolson.
Do not go
I
Google
barely
it,
even know
as
myself.
if any young person is watching.
All right.
Yes. You guys aren't doing this.
All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about. Before I forget, we encouraged you guys to do this last week. We didn't get any, so we're going to encourage you to do this again. We want you to send questions to us if you're watching, if you're listening, and here's the reason we want to do this, because we're going to take some of the answers to your questions when you send them in, and we'll pull out clips from this podcast and we'll post them on our YouTube channel, and it would be something that you guys could take and send to your friends. So if you have a question that a friend maybe has asked you about God or about church, the Bible, or something like that, or just life in general, and you'd like to have an answer from a Christian perspective, send that to us. We'll do our best to answer it here, and then we'll put it into a format where you could share it with somebody and maybe help answer that question.
Well, even if
I like it.
Even if it's a question that you've not heard someone say, but you personally have,
Yeah.
often we think, well, often my question may be a stupid question, but honestly, a lot of people may also be having that question. You may not be. It's like when you were in class, they say raise your hand because someone else might be having the same question.
right.
So raise your hand.
And if you do it on YouTube, I've seen a lot of the names you give yourself on YouTube. We don't have a clue who you
know who you
are
are.
anyway, because you gave yourself some weird
Al
name.
Jolson fan.
Oh, no.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Okay. All right. So let's get to the topic at hand, which is the series we're in. And Sunday continued into week 2 of Best Year Ever, where we are learning how to make this year the best year ever. And we said not to make better goals, we got to make better habits. And so Sunday, if you joined us, I talked a little bit about how to start habits. So here's my question to get us talking on this. What's a habit that you guys and that you've recently began in your life? Because I know we're working on some habits. What are some of those habits that you started? And how are you using some of those strategies that we learned on Sunday to actually get that habit going?
One of the habits I started sometime maybe 2 or 3 months ago was writing handwritten letters to people. One thing that I've learned about myself, not very flattering, but I don't really care about a lot of people, and I'm not very.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm not very. I mean, that's not the total truth, but I honestly I don't think about a lot of people, and I take a lot of people in my life for granted. I tend to end up thinking often about the things that frustrate me in a relationship or something. And so one thing that I actually read about Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers did this every day of his
Great
life.
movie, by the way.
Yeah, that movie's great.
Awesome.
The book, I can't remember the name of the book I read.
You're
The
talking
Good
about the
Neighbor.
documentary or the
I'm talking about the one that just
Tom
came
Hanks.
out. The
I
Tom
haven't
Hanks
seen
movie.
it.
Both are really good. The Tom Hanks Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood's really good. That one is called Won't You Be My Neighbor, the documentary.
I haven't seen
and
that.
then
It's
the
really good.
the book, most recent book on his life, I think it's called The Good Neighbor, is really, really good. It's biography. But anyway, he talks about in the book that's something Mr. Rogers did every day, which is wrote letters to people and tried to keep up with people. So about 2 or 3 months ago, I just started, I'm going to try and write 2 or 3 letters a week, just telling people how grateful I am for them in my life and trying to, and it ends up for me, I end up start appreciating the people in my life more instead of focusing on little things. And often even people who often have frustrated me, so if you got a letter from me, you might have made me mad. But no, but often you just writing a letter and just saying, hey, how much I appreciate the people in my life and holding that on. And so the way that you were asking about things, there are a lot of things that you mentioned that I realized, obviously at the time, because I hadn't read the book and I hadn't heard your sermon at the time when I started, but I look back and I go, oh, that is how I made this a habit, was those kind of things. Stuff like the habit stacking, which I know you didn't call it that in the sermon, but the idea of when I do this, I will do this. So I have a routine I've set up in my morning where I get up and the first thing I do is I just have moments of quiet with God, and then I pray, and then I do my discipleship email. And then normally I have about 10 minutes between that and when I got to start making breakfast for my kids. And I've other times just filled that just with either listening to worship music or something. And I thought, well, but in between that time, I'm going to take that, and at least 2 or 3 times a week, I'm going to write a letter. And I've been able to kind of keep that up for the past couple months or so, and just during that time. So when I get done with my discipleship email, before I make breakfast, I'll sit and I'll try and think of somebody. And often God brings somebody to my mind of, you should write to that person.
That's really cool.
Yeah. How about you?
I'm waiting on my letter.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I haven't got one either.
Well, you just haven't made me angry yet. No,
I
True?
doubt
That is not true.
Highly doubt that.
Let me just say that. I do want to correct that in case any of you are watching. Not everyone who got a letter made me angry.
No,
But
and
some.
not
What did I
everyone
do
who
to
made him
Nathan?
angry got a letter, because
That's
I
true.
bet I've done it.
Yes.
And you'll probably do it before we leave
Yeah,
this room.
might
That's
happen
right.
in just a moment.
All right.
You know what?
So anyway, the one, I think I mentioned the one last week that I'm doing. I decided I'm 60. I'm 60. And
60 years old.
I'm 60 years old.
Okay,
I
boomer.
decided that I needed to make sure I remain flexible and well balanced and all that kind of stuff. And I have never done physical exercise. I grew up.
Oh, physically well balanced. I thought you meant mentally well balanced.
I've never been balanced.
There have been people working on that a long time. Anyway, that was a good point. So yes, physically balanced, so I don't just fall over, because I don't think my children are going to take care of me. So,
They just write you letters. They're not writing letters either.
so I am doing yoga these days, and the way I do that is, this is really going to, we have an old Wii that's been left at our house since
I
our
also
kids
have
were
an
there.
old Wii.
We have an old Wii.
Yeah.
And I got the Wii Fit board.
Yes.
And so I went on eBay and found the Wii Fit yoga
Yep.
thing. And so the benefit of the Wii Fit board and the Wii Fit thing is it tells you whether you're balanced or not because of the thing.
It does.
So, or am I doing the poses? So, what I do, mine is, the stacking is when I get home, I will do yoga before I change into my home clothes.
Okay.
You know, like I have clothes that I wear at work. I will do yoga before I change my clothes because it's always been I come home, I go get the mail, I go and change clothes, and I settle in for the night. So now it is I come in before I do anything else, bam, I'm on the thing doing yoga. And to do that, I take the Wii Fit board and I sit it in the middle of my floor.
Excellent.
So that I have to walk past it or move it before I can get anywhere. So I either have to put it up and not do it, or I just have to go and do it. And so far, I've done it every day.
Now, here's my question. Do you have yoga clothes?
I don't.
You do it in your work clothes?
I do it in my work clothes
Very
because
cool.
at this point, I'm not trying to be Sir Yoga. You know?
Yes.
It become my rap name. If I Sir Yoga, the 60-year-old boomer rapper.
It's becoming a theme here.
It is anyway.
Okay.
That's what I do, and
Awesome.
I will. Yeah, that's all the information anybody needs to
That
have.
is
out
all.
of it.
I think that's a good thing that I know comes out of the book, and I know you.
If you want to know more about that, ask a question. We may
No.
choose to
Don't
answer.
ask any questions about yoga.
We're not going to answer all of them.
No, that's true.
What were you saying?
But I was going to say, I know in the book it says this, and I know you talked about this, and it may be later on when we're talking about other stuff, but part of that is the making it obvious, making it something that you can't avoid. When you're trying to start a good habit, you want to keep it something obvious. So I think the putting it in the middle of the room, and I have to walk past it, it forces me to see it. It forces me to at least address, I am going to do that, or I'm not going to do that.
Right.
And it can't be out of sight, out of mind. So I think that's great.
Yeah. Mine was I'm trying to put some physical activity back in my calendar, my schedule every day, which I used to do every day, or most every day, and lately I just haven't. So I've done the same thing with stacking the habits, and I think we're going to talk about this a little in a minute, but I'm also trying to put things after my new habit that I would like to do. That's part of making it rewarding.
Right.
And that's another part. I didn't get to talk about this much on Sunday, but part of making a habit stick is if you can couple it with something that you feel is rewarding to you, you get that immediate reward, then you'll are more likely to do it. So for me, I don't know how rewarding this is, but it's something you kind of have to do, and it's something that, hopefully you enjoy doing, but taking a shower every day, that's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
So I have just sort of made an artificial rule. You can't go take a shower until you drop and give me 50. Pretty much, that's the deal. And or something like that. And I have to do something physical before I do that. So it just built in. The other thing that I'm doing is to keep my, I mentioned this last week, to keep my Bible reading and discipleship regiment that I'm doing, which we talked about last week as well. I'm sandwiching it in between brewing my tea and drinking my tea. So I brew it, and while it's brewing, I go do that, and then I've got it waiting on me. It's something I love every morning. It kind of starts my day, and so it's waiting for me after it's over. But I can't do that until I finish what I know I need to do, and so it's kind of rewarding at the end of that. So, any other things from Sunday that y'all found helpful or want to mention?
Well, because we're also reading the book, one of the other things I thought you did a great job on just making this practical as possible, and we have limited time when we get up to talk because we know that people won't listen.
Not that long.
They're not even listening the whole time,
Yeah.
but we know that there is a limit.
Yes.
One of the things I'd love for people to know about, I do think when you do it out loud, when you say to somebody, hey, I'm doing this goal, and but it needs to be the right people. I want to say that to everybody. You need to have the right people that you tell. You don't want somebody that goes, oh, man, that's not that big a deal. You don't really need to worry about that.
Yeah.
You need somebody that when you tell them will support you, hold you accountable, that kind of stuff. But there is real power. I even felt it in saying it last week. Oh, I know somebody's going to say to me, so you're doing yoga.
Yeah.
And, you have to be okay with that. And you have to, but it's a good thing because I know at some point somebody's going to ask me down the road, are you still doing that? How's that going?
Yep.
And I want to keep doing it. So,
Well, that right there, and I was going to get to this, but we'll go ahead and move that direction. There were some things about starting new habits in the book Atomic Habits that we're sort of walking through that I didn't get to Sunday. And one of them was what you just mentioned. He talks about how if you can find a culture or a group that you can join that is doing the habit that you're doing, or that for that group, the habit is normal.
right.
And the closer you can get to those people, the more likely you are to do that habit.
Yes.
So, so like you said, by saying it out loud in front of some people, that helps. But if you can just attach yourself to a culture or group, I'm not saying you're going to go join a yoga group, but if you if you have some people that are doing the same things that you're doing, I hate to keep going back to this, but it's just what my life's about these days, and these guys too. That's what discipleship is doing
Yeah,
for me.
absolutely.
I've got these three guys besides me that are in this little group with me. We're doing the same thing every day together. We're reading Scripture together. We are doing the same practices every week of connecting to God. And then we're communicating to each other. We're responsible to each other every single day. I'll just be honest, there's a lot of days that I wouldn't do that if it was not attached to some other people.
Well, and the thing for me about our discipleship program that I like is not just Bible study and not just connecting. And my guys, everybody I've ever done discipleship knows, and I'm this for them, is there's just a hardness of doing life with people over time. But a part of what Jesus asked us to do is to love people. And so there's a choice I make of this group of people. We're all walking the same direction. We don't have the same natural kind of, I don't know that all of us would choose to be friends with each other, any of that kind of stuff. But because we're brothers, we are in family with each other. God says
God's
that,
family.
and it's true. And I sense it with them.
Yes.
I sense it. That just that regular being with them is helping develop a part of me that just reading the Bible doesn't do. And the reading the Bible can be very personal. It's very me and God thing. But Jesus made it clear. It's not just me and God. It's me and other people. And I can't really love God without loving other people. This makes me practice it.
Yep.
Well, and I think that's the nature of, like you said, it's this over time, because I think everyone gets that. I think most people go, okay, so I got to love people, but most of us, I think, overestimate how good we are at loving people.
Yes.
We underestimate how bad we are at it, because we think we get to define what love looks like. And what love means is I have these kind of feelings towards you, or I kind of want. But I think that part of really what it is I'm wanting and I'm working for what's best for you. That I know what I'm trying to get, what God says is what's best for you. That's what I want for you. But the unfortunate part that happens in long-term relationships is my wants and my desires and your wants and desires, when those things conflict, what happens? And that's what happens in a long-term relationship. That doesn't happen when you're just in these kind of, oh, I just know these people and I'm loving them because I said something nice to them today. It's those moments when what I want and what you want, they don't meet, and I'm going like this. And discipleship, and I think that's why it happens in family relationships
Happens
too.
in marriage.
Happens
Yeah,
in marriage.
Man.
That our heads start butting together. That at some point I have to say, what do I care most about? Which is I care about what's best for you, which may mean I don't get what I want.
Yes.
And
It's why I've said, and you guys have both heard me say that, the biggest spiritual growth things in my life have been parenting and marriage, because I really did care about both of those relationships with all of my kids and with my wife, and I couldn't just make them do what I wanted them to do. I didn't get to be in charge and large and in charge and everybody bow to my will. Not and get what I long-term want, which is a great relationship on the other end where they choose to be with me. Could I overpower them? Sure, I probably could have in certain situations, but long-term, I would know they're just doing what I want them to do. They don't even like me. I don't. Who wants that?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants
Nobody
that.
wants that.
So then I have to go, what is it about me that I say all of that you're right. We were back on habits.
Yeah.
Finding the right group of people that will help you become what you want to in any. I'm convinced, again, it's why 12-step works is that, there's a thing they say to you in the beginning is 30 meetings in 30 days. And the part of that is I'm changing the people I hang out with, because if I go to meetings all the time, I'm now developing a community of people that are doing what I want to do. They are the kind of people I want to build with, which pulls me away from the kind of people that were doing the other habit I was wanting to do.
Yeah.
So I'm building a community. That's why it works.
Yep. Cool. So we talked about that. We talked a little bit about giving yourself a reward at the end of this new habit. There was another thing in the book that I thought was interesting. I don't know if there's a whole lot to discuss about it, but I found it looking back through it. And his advice was, you never miss the new habit more than twice.
Oh, yeah.
Or you never miss it twice. If you miss one time, coming right back to it after you've missed it is so important. You don't go 2 days in a row missing that. And that, I don't know if there's anything to say about that other than that. That's just flat out true.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I think it's true spiritually once you get past like habits. I remember all of us have things in our lives that are these kind of habitual kind of sins or struggles that I keep going, and you go for a while and you make all this progress. At least you feel like oh man, I'm overcoming this, I'm battling this, and then you have a failure or you have a failing, and you feel like, oh, I'm back at square one. And I remember I read this in a book. I think it was Henry Nouwen or something like that, where it said, stop seeing your journey as every time there's a failure, you're going back to square one. See it as a journey that you're on, that when you stop, you've pulled over to the side of the road. You haven't lost all the progress that you've made.
Yeah.
You just got to get back on the journey. But I think that's what happens in almost any habit, is I get to a place, I mess up, and I go, well, there's no reason to even go back.
Yeah.
I've messed it all up. But if you can get yourself, just go back. Go back to the gym the next day. Get back on counting your calories. Do whatever the next thing is. You still made that. And I think with your bodies, you see it more, which is if I miss one day at the gym, the next day I still have that muscle mass I've built up. I didn't lose it from one day, but I will lose it after weeks and weeks and weeks. But just getting back on the horse the next day, I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing I thought in the book was good is on the bad habit side. I had never thought about the neurological part of, he says, deeply ingrained bad habits, even once we stop doing the thing, that tendency is still in us.
Yes.
For all of them. He uses the example of a lady in the book who had smoked for a long time. She finally stopped smoking, but she loved riding horses. And in the past, she had smoked while riding a horse, and she rode a horse again for the first time in years. And immediately she wanted a cigarette. Well, I've used to smoke a lot, and anybody that has that kind of habit, there are situations I'm in now, and I haven't smoked in 30 years, where I'm back in that situation, that thought to me comes back, I want a cigarette. I want a cigarette, because your brain just has that groove in it. And what we're trying to do with the good habits is cut a groove just as deep so that you miss it when you're out of it. So environment matters, the people matter, all of that kind of stuff matters.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, anything else from Sunday that you guys heard that you wanted to bring up today? That was my list of stuff that I didn't get to talk about.
No, again, I thought it was really practical, really, really good.
Yeah.
I will say the other part of the service, and I was with our Ashley Park campus Sunday. I love the prayer time and that little experience. I love watching people take communion together, because I really wish I could have experienced the way they took it in the first century around the table, and we have meals together. And I've done that occasionally in a small group, but their church was basically small groups of people, so maybe 30, 40 people in a room, and they were all eating together, and then they'd stop. I love watching that take place, and then I love the praying for each other and the praying for our church. I love that time.
I think this is a good time to bring this up, because we haven't talked about this. I don't know if we ever talked about this in a public kind of way, but we're really working hard these days to make our services experiential in that way. And hopefully you've noticed that. We've been doing this for about a year now, where it's not just me sitting and learning something, but I'm actually having a moment in my Sunday where I'm experiencing God in some fashion, whether it be through a meditation on some scripture or some thought process that I'm going through, or just being silent for a while, or like we did on Sunday where I'm gathering together with a couple of people, and just sights and sounds and things that you can't get when you're watching it online or you're just listening to a message during the week. So we did that intentionally.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've actually talked about that before, but
Well, and I think with this habit stuff we're talking about, there's a lot of habitual patterns that happen in any group. So when you wind up doing the same thing at 9 o'clock or 10:30 on a Sunday morning, you tend to walk in the building the same way, you go to the same spot to sit, and you sort of expect, oh, there's going to be 2 songs, and then this is going to happen, then this is going to happen. And it's not like you don't like it. I don't mean that.
Yeah.
But like anything else you do long-term, you can do it without thinking about it.
Yep.
And one of the things we know is that there are more senses to learning than just listening.
Yeah.
If we can get you to a little out that you can think about something different, you can feel something a different way, you can experience it in a different kind of way, it might give God a chance to do something. I mean, we can't make you experience God. All we can do is set the table.
There we go.
And maybe give a place that could happen by, just getting you in a different kind of setting.
Yeah. So you make sure you're there on Sundays, because every week we're working to make it a little bit different, a little bit something that maybe will stick.
Which is a good time for those of you who are going to be here this coming Sunday. I'll just say at both campuses, this
Yes.
is one of those times where we'll often say to you, hey, if your habitual pattern is, I stand out and talk to people and I come into the service late because it doesn't really matter, this is not one of those weeks.
No.
At our Sharpsburg campus, where we can't do this at the theater because they don't allow us to control all lighting, but at our Sharpsburg campus, it's going to be dark. And when you come into the room, you go, I'm going to stand here into the dark, just expect you're going to stand there a long time if you come in late, because it's going to be dark.
Yes.
We have something, we want to get your attention, so I just urge you, if you got kids to check in, come a little bit early so you can get them checked in, so you can get in your seat on time, so that, you can be here and fully experience it, because you came to church to experience God somehow, and this is all a part of it. And when you miss a part, you don't know what you miss.
Absolutely.
You miss something.
Good stuff. I'm glad you remembered that. I'm glad we got a chance to say that. All right. Anything else? You're teaching Sunday.
I am. This is
you're
how
doing
to.
bad habits.
I'm doing bad habits, and a part, and you'll get this. I don't want to give you too much away. I don't want to give too. I'm going to talk to you about bad habits. That's what I'm going to say.
But stop it.
Yeah, I'm just going to stop, or I'd want to preach the whole thing to you. But yes, this
You're going
is.
to tell them how to stop bad
I'm going
habits.
to tell them how to stop. Yes, I am.
So if you've got a bad habit and you can't stop, just come. Ed's going to fix all
Yeah,
that.
I'm not going to fix it all.
All of it.
That
on
would have been a
Sunday.
surprising twist had you talked about how to start a bad habit.
Well, yeah.
That would have been a surprise.
Surprising twist.
Yeah.
Turns out,
I don't think there's any skill in that.
No,
no,
it's
those
just
are
sorta
pretty
habit.
easy.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
tend to be naturally attractive.
I really want those bad habits real bad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, make sure you communicate with us. Send us some questions. You can be a part of adding to this podcast every week. We hope you guys will do that. But now we're coming to the best part of the podcast, or maybe not.
Maybe, who knows?
But we hope it will be a good part of the podcast. The top 5.
All right. And I have the top 5.
Ed
and
has
I
the top 5.
I brought props.
And I cannot wait. I saw the props, and I've been waiting this whole time, baby.
baby.
I am so excited right now.
I have-
Y'all in, well, we in for a treat. Y'all
We
ain't in for
is
nothing,
in
but
for a
we got
treat.
we got this.
This
So
is great.
I have brought food
All
because
right.
I like food, and I
doesn't?
was trying to think in terms of what top 5 I want to talk about, and I like all food, but I wanted to give you all my top 5 chips when they come to it, potato chips
Oh,
that I have.
yes.
So and I want you guys to taste them so you can tell me what you. Why don't y'all tell me? Why don't you take a bite of those and tell me what you think they are? This is number 5. My number 5 best.
Are you not even
chip.
going to tell us what the flavor
I
is?
will. Y'all tell me what you think it might be.
I'm gonna say salt and pepper. Got a peppery taste. Salt and pepper. It's a kettle chip.
If it wasn't,
Well,
I'd just
I
say it
just-
was plain or
I
or
just
something.
say I like kettle chips of the chip. If I
Me
just
too.
had to pick the kind,
Me too.
I like kettle chips
Yeah.
about as
That's
best.
salt and pepper.
I would also like to throw this out. How does this sound on the audio podcast? Just me. I hope that.
Make you hungry?
Hope that's a good. Hope that's a good noise.
So I'll just say to you, those are Cape Cod sea salt, and cracked pepper
Oh, it's
chips.
cracked pepper. See, I
Cracked
just thought it
pepper.
was just that regular.
They are
old
my
pepper.
number 5 best potato chips.
Oh.
I love.
It says it right on there.
I just also say
He hit it first.
of the kettle chips.
Okay.
I do too.
I like them all, but I like Cod.
I like the Kroger brand.
But
You
I'm
never
not
had
a
the-
snob. If anybody has a
I was
hookup
gonna
with
say.
kettle chips,
Yeah.
I'll
You
eat
bring
whatever's
it
on.
on.
I'll eat
You
whatever's
bring-
on
you bring
sale.
it
To
on.
be
I
honest
think the
with you.
Kroger brand generic's actually not too bad.
It's
I'll
not.
say this: if anybody has a hookup with Tom's chips, which I don't even know if they exist
I think they
anymore,
do.
I grew
They do.
up eating Tom's chips, and I like Tom's chips.
You know, see, I don't know if you guys know this. I grew up on Frito-Lay because my father worked for Frito-Lay the
I remember that.
entire time I grew up. In fact, he started out with Golden Flake, if anybody
oh,
knows Golden
I remember.
Flake.
I grew up with Golden Flake.
When I was really small, he worked for Golden Flake, but then he switched over to Frito-Lay. So I ate Frito-Lay chips my entire life, and mostly for free. So it was.
Those are the best.
It was a
kind
great
of-
perk.
kind-
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Well, I'll say this, and
free
I don't
chips.
think you all know this, but when I lived in Ohio, Kentucky area, there's a chip there that I think is my favorite chip of all time. It's a brand. It's called Mike Sells. Mike Sells chips. They are delicious. Have a hookup with Mike Sells. I'd love to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Honestly, we'll take anything. He's not picky. We're not picky.
No,
All right, so what's this?
Number 4 chip. Y'all are gonna get this one. This is not.
I can already tell by
This is
looking
not
at
a. This is
bet
easy
it's-
to identify.
Barbecue.
Barbecue.
Yeah, and do you know the brand?
I'm gonna say Lay's.
Yeah, that's a Lay's.
That's Lay's barbecue.
That's a Lay's
a
barbecue.
straight up
now,
barbecue.
not the sweet barbecue.
Now, there is one called Sweet Heat.
I know it's really good,
good
too.
too.
I don't
But
think I've
like-
had the sweet.
This is nostalgic for me.
Is it really?
Okay.
When I eat these, I think about being a kid. We had these. I can remember when they first started coming out. I loved these. These would have been number 1 for me a long time ago, but they're number 4 now
Okay.
on my list.
I think it's a
Now,
good choice.
this 3?
That's a
No,
classic.
this is number 3, and I'll just admit, number 3 is not actually a potato chip.
Well, I'm looking at it.
It's
and
a
I can
corn
tell.
chip.
I'm gonna say before I have these
I
are
know
the
what this
chili
is.
cheese
It's a
Fritos.
chili cheese
Chili
Frito.
cheese
Yeah.
Fritos.
I would have said that these used to be number 1 as well. There was a period of time where I would eat a chili cheese Frito at any point, any time.
They're so dang salty. That's
Yeah.
what makes them so
Oh,
good.
no.
They're awesome.
They are good.
Yeah.
I can't hardly stop eating. Once I start eating. There you
It's a
go.
good
You
one.
know,
So that's
no.
number 3.
Just us eating the chips.
No,
Chili
not 4,
cheese.
3. That's number 3.
Chili cheese. Now,
Number 2?
these are connoisseur chips.
Oh boy.
I'll just say these are gonna be a little bit hard for
Let
you
me
to
get
tell.
my monocle on.
Yeah.
I need something to cleanse my palate. here.
What is that chip? This until about a month ago was my favorite chip. I would choose it
That's
anytime
some
I
type
could.
of jalapeno.
I think it's the Cape Cod jalapeno.
You think it is? It's a jalapeno. It's got the bite to it. It's kick.
It
got a
is.
kick to it.
It is Cape Cod jalapeno chip. That's it right there.
No, that's
This-
Lay's.
That's Lay's.
Lay's kettle.
He can't read.
I'm sorry. That's right. These are.
I guessed incorrectly. I knew it was jalapeno.
I used to get these all the time with my sandwiches. I
yeah.
love these all the time.
The Miss Vickies are good too.
Miss
Vickies are
Vickies
amazing.
really good.
That's
they are
actually
really.
a subsidiary of Frito-Lay.
Oh, is it really?
Yes,
All right.
it is a offspring. of
These
Frito-Lay.
are my current favorite chip that I just found a month ago.
These also look jalapeno.
What is that?
I'm just gonna have some because.
That's also jalapeno.
Why y'all talking
Yeah,
about?
it's got a.
Oh,
Whoops. I'm dropping them.
I'm gonna say these are the Cape Cod because they're a little spicier.
Maybe
I
that's
know
it.
Cape Cod has a strong one
Because it tastes.
because I know they have a strong. Because my
flavor.
wife gets them.
The
occasionally.
flavor is about the same, but they're crispier.
Yeah, that's the Cape Cod. They're
Okay.
crispier. They're crispier, but they're not just Cape Cod jalapeno. This is a new variety I had never seen.
Oh,
This is the Cape Cod sweet and spicy jalapeno.
that's the one that my wife gets occasionally. She'll
They-
bring them home. That's a good one right
They
there.
Ah,
are
that's good.
just delicious.
Yeah, these are addictive.
So again, I just say to you, I didn't do this to get the advertisement, but I sure would like to have some chips.
Yeah,
Now let me say,
that's a darn good chip right
the
there.
only thing I'm disappointed in this selection is no place do you have anything that is salt and vinegar. That is
Well-
my personal favorite.
They would be a 6, 7 somewhere in there. I love salt and vinegar. I love dill pickle.
Oh, the dill pickle
Your
chips
pickles are good
though.
too. You good? You need
I
some
need
water?
something to
Need
drink.
some water?
These are bad- these
He's
are bad
choking over
decisions. All you've heard for the past 7 minutes is just us chewing on chips. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, salt and vinegar is my absolute favorite. They are my number one.
They
of
are a very
almost
good
any
chip.
kind. The problem is I eat the whole bag.
You have a particular brand that you prefer?
Not really. I used to, I was very partial to Frito-Lay at the time because
I
they
get
were
that.
so nice to give me free chips. But now, man, I'll take them in all forms. But I do like the kettle cooked more than anything. So,
I'm telling you, sitting here, I keep looking at those going, you should have some Fritos.
yeah.
I think the
You know what's really good? Have you ever taken chili and putting these in chili?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
no,
my-
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
In fact,
double,
good
double,
chili.
double on that.
I got a pot of chili on right now. I'm
Do
gonna
you
have
really?
I'm having it for dinner. Y'all should come over. We're having chili tonight, and we're gonna put Fritos in our chili.
You
Well,
know
there
what
you
we
go.
should, is it regular, would I call it regular chili? Is like it's gonna be red?
Oh yeah.
Okay, and
yeah.
is it gonna have?
It's a lot like Wendy's chili.
Oh, yeah.
I do
In
like
fact,
Wendy's.
That's one of my favorites. So I
We
copycat
could
that.
talk about that one time.
Yeah.
I did a chili tasting contest. I was a judge for one time. And they fed me stuff with chicken in it.
That ain't chili.
I don't think it's chili.
Well, you have to refer
You
to
gotta
it
call
as
it.
a white
If you
chicken
have to
chili.
change the name, do
Yeah.
chicken
Yeah,
chili.
it's
not
like
real
a
chili.
spicy chicken soup.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Or stew. And it's good.
It's great.
I just can't vote for it
I
as a
struggle
chili.
with the watery chilies. that are very broth. They're
No.
not, you know what I mean? It's not a thick broth.
I need a
it's like-
hearty chili.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do that for our next top 5.
There
Well,
you
if
go.
you want to
Maybe.
bring
It's up-
them,
it's up for
you-
you.
I ain't
You
cook.
have to
I'm not
eat.
cooking 5 chilies.
Well, that's what we need, though. Jason.
We do need
That's
it.
what we need. But I will say, if you haven't had, I think it's either Kroger brand. There's a Nashville
I
hot
just thought of it.
chicken chip that's really, really.
A
really
Nashville
Because
hot
I
chicken.
don't have a problem asking people for things, if 5 of you would like to bring us chilies to taste, we would be happy to put them in order.
Hey, make it. Put them in our podcast.
We would put them in our podcast. Are 5 of you listening that can actually make chili?
Yeah.
And we'd give you credit for it.
Don't
We don't
bring
care.
us any bad chili. But
All right. So maybe we should sign off and just eat chips.
I'm all good with that.
All right. Let's do that. Thanks, guys.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you next week.
I'm gonna have some
Bye.
more. Is it hard to pick
All
which
good.
ones
I
I
do
want?
like these because they're closest to me.
Well, that's lazy.